记住，出拳也是中线，绑我也是中线，这就是没有中线。刚开始我也是。
I'm still not entirely sure I'm doing this right. Here I am, watching everyone else trying to figure out the techniques. Alright, good Wing Chun class, not too much stuff in this one either. Started out what seems to be the normal way. We do some warm-ups, we do some conditioning, and we do some Xiu Nim Tao practice. I really hope I'm saying that right. The way that practice seems to work is that everybody practices the form at their own pace and however much of it they've learned, and the instructor walks around helping people, correcting people, maybe teaching you a little bit more if you haven't learned the whole thing yet. I kind of like that way of doing it because you can focus on the parts that you think are harder or you're not good at, I guess. Like if you want to check your stance, you don't have to worry about checking your stance and then falling behind everybody else. You can look down, check your stance, fix it if it needs to be fixed, or remove your arm so it's positioned in the right place or something without falling behind or anything. Also, it means if you're practicing a specific part, the instructor is probably going to help you with that part because he sees you doing it a bunch. Then the main things that we did in this class were 3 sets of attack and defense. In the previous class, I was surprised to see that defense. That was just a defense, no attack. But in this class, all 3 things we did were simultaneous attack and defense. The 3 that we did were Tan Sao with a punch, and I think Pak Sao with a punch, and then this sort of low block with a punch. I don't know what it's called. That low block might actually have been open hand, not closed. The foot positioning for all 3 was exactly the same. So you started in your Ma Bu. The hand that attacks, that same side is the leg that steps. So if my right hand was punching, my right leg was stepping. So all 3, you started in that Ma Bu, and then you would turn the toes on the not stepping leg forward so that you could step forward and attack. The stance was kind of like a cat stance, but instead of the feet being, perpendicular to each other, 90-degree angle, they were both turned a little bit. So they were both sort of off at an angle, not exactly the same. The front foot was not turned as much, but they were both turned. I'm not sure if my foot positioning is exactly right here, honestly. And all 3 went like that, and then we cycled into the next punch. So you'd start, you'd point the toes forward, you'd step forward and attack, and then you'd go back. And now you'd be attacking the other side. So now the other foot goes straight, and then you step the other way. And then you went back, and you did it the first way again, and then back, and the second way again, so that you could keep going through. As for the blocks, the Tan Sao, I guess, could be blocking a straight punch. It could also be blocking like a hook punch. The Pak Sao, I think, is for blocking a straight punch as well. And then that low block, the name of which I don't know, would be for blocking an attack to the body, maybe a low punch or maybe a kick, like a front kick to the stomach or something. One thing I really liked about this is a lot of it was the same. The attack was the same for all 3, and the stepping was the same for all 3. The block is going to change depending on what you're being attacked with, but the rest of it stays the same. It's consistent. I feel like sometimes martial arts just throw a ton of techniques at you, and they're just like, good luck! And I feel like when that happens, you're less likely to be able to defend yourself. If you practice one thing a whole lot, you're going to be better at it. But if you have a whole lot of things to practice, you're probably not going to practice each of them as much, so you're going to be less good at them. But if a lot of stuff is the same, then it's easier to practice just one thing. So since all 3 of these are the same, I'm practicing the same attack, whichever one I practice. I'm practicing the same step, the same stance movement with my feet, no matter which one I am practicing. From the perspective of the art of martial art, it's probably not as good because you don't have as much stuff to do. But from the perspective of the martial part of martial art, it's probably better. Since Wing Chun is a martial art that I feel like definitely promotes itself as good for self-defense, it's probably better that it focuses more on the martial than on the art. So hopefully going forward, there is more of this sort of recycled stuff that you use in multiple movements. The plan then is to be able to get better at those things because I'm practicing them more often, and there's fewer things for me to forget. Some form practice. I really liked the use of this elbow here. I Alright, this class was not quite as overwhelming as the previous Friday's class. We didn't do quite so much stuff. There was a whole bunch of stuff early on, for example, creating power with only a little bit of movement, which I definitely did not understand how to do, and how to catch yourself like from a push. But the main thing that we did was grab defenses, which had a pretty interesting difference from what I'm used to back home in Tang Soo Do. If I remember correctly, in Tang Soo Do, when you get grabbed, you usually pull against the thumb because that's the weakest part of the grab. Here you have 4 fingers, so that part of the grab is going to be stronger, but the thumb is just 1, so you want to pull against the thumb. So if someone's grabbing you like this, you're going to pull towards the thumb, not towards the fingers, because that's going to be too hard. If you're getting grabbed here, you're going to pull towards the thumb. If you need more power and they're only grabbing one hand, you can grab to use both hands to pull. But however the pull is, it's going to be against the thumb. And the hand is going to be coming away from their hand. So if you're being grabbed, my hand is going away from the hand that's grabbing me against the thumb. The way Wing Chun did it, though, was Wing Chun sort of moved the hand towards the other person's hand and tried to pull out of the part of the grab between the 2 fingers. So if I'm getting grabbed here, I'm going to move my hand towards the other hand in this little squishy part so that my arm pushes out of where the fingers are together, right here. So Tang Soo Do is pulling against the thumb, but Wing Chun is pushing into this mushy bit to escape here. That was a pretty neat difference. It seemed to work well enough. The grabs we did were all 2-hand grabs though, so you couldn't use one hand to help. And we did a couple different variations. We did some having both hands grabbed and just sort of pulling them down using the elbow to escape, just to get used to the technique. And then we did, if a person was grabbing one up and one down, and you use the hand that's at the top to sort of attack the bottom hand and free this hand so that you can then attack. We also did what happens if the other person's way too big and you can't break that. And then you use sort of the elbow to sort of push down on their hands and wrench your wrist out. And then you have an elbow right there to attack, a hand right there to attack the neck. And then we did some variations that involved like coming around and grabbing them and knees and elbows to the back and stuff. I was a big fan of that elbow. I really like elbows. I feel like elbows don't get used enough. And I feel like if a big person is grabbing you, you're probably going to have a hard time breaking out of that grab the first way we did it. So I think the addition of the elbow is a pretty realistic use. Looking forward to seeing some more elbow stuff in class, hopefully. So Tang Soo Do is pulling against, I can't get a good angle of this,